Everyone saw the move. Only Michael saw the mistake, and it was invisible. The tape had just stopped rolling when Michael's hand went up. Not a question, not a stretch, a signal. The kind that made the entire room, brothers, choreographer, assistant director, the guy running cables near the back wall, go still. 12 years old, and he already had that hand. "Run it back," Michael said. The choreographer, a man named Vincent, a freelancer brought in for the network special, glanced at the monitor, then at the brothers standing in formation on the glossy rehearsal floor. Sweat pooled in the taped seams between panels. The air smelled like rosin and old wood, and the faint electrical burn of stage lights that had been on since 6 a.m. "Mike, we just nailed that. Sync was tight. Let's move on. We've got 6 more numbers before the dinner break." Michael didn't look at Vincent. He looked at Jermaine, who was still catching his breath near the edge of the taped-out stage boundaries, one hand braced on his knee. Jermaine's spin. At the bridge turnaround. It's late. Jermaine frowned, wiping his forehead with the back of his wrist. His shirt clung to his shoulders, dark with moisture. "Late? I hit the mark, same count as everybody." "You hit the mark," Michael said. His voice was calm, but there was no give in it. "But the speed's off." Vincent stepped forward, one hand on his hip, the other holding a dog-eared notepad with pencil marks running down the margins. He'd worked with Motown acts, Vegas residencies, even a brief stint choreographing for a soap opera's musical episode. He knew timing. He knew bodies. "Michael, I've been doing this for 11 years. If the count's right and the spacing's right, the speed's right. That's how choreography works." Michael's jaw tightened, just a flicker. The kind of tension that didn't show unless you were watching for it. Not if it feels wrong. Jackie, the oldest, exhaled and crossed his arms. He'd been up since 5:30, running through vocal warm-ups in the hallway outside the studio. His patience had a limit, and they were close to it. "Come on, man. We've been at this since 7 a.m. If Vincent says it's good, run it back," Michael repeated. His voice didn't rise. It didn't need to. The assistant director, a woman in her mid-30s with a clipboard and a thermos of something that smelled like burnt coffee, met Vincent's eyes. She'd seen this before. Young performers with opinions, older professionals with experience. Usually, the professionals won, but there was something in the way Michael stood. Weight slightly forward, eyes locked on the monitor. Not defiant, certain. Vincent gave a small shrug, half annoyance, half curiosity, and nodded to the tech booth. "Rewind to the bridge. Let's see what the kid's talking about." The tape whirred backward. A high-pitched squeal filled the room as the image on the monitor reversed. Bodies snapping back into formation, arms retracting, feet sliding in reverse across the floor. The sound was grating, metallic. One of the brothers, Marlon, covered his ears. Then it stopped. The assistant director hit play. On screen, the 5 brothers moved in sync, a clean line of spins and stops, arms extending on the 2 count, feet planted on the 4. Jermaine's spin came at the 8-count turnaround. Smooth, controlled, locked in with the others. His right foot pivoted, torso rotated, arms swept through the motion and stopped in the final pose. The choreographer leaned closer to the monitor, eyes narrowing. "I don't see it." Michael stepped up beside him, eyes fixed on the screen. His finger tapped the air in time with the beat, counting silently. 1, 2, 3, 4. Watch his right shoulder. When he finishes the spin, it's not a pop, it's a settle. Vincent replayed the section. Once, twice. On the 3rd pass, he tilted his head. Jermaine's spin did finish, but the final position, that last rotational snap into place, took a fraction longer than the others. Not a full beat, not even half, just a breath, a microscopic delay between the motion stopping and the body locking, like a door closing on a soft hinge instead of a latch. Yeah, there's a tiny lag, Vincent admitted, scratching the back of his neck. But we're talking milliseconds, the audience won't see that. Michael turned to face him. The studio lights caught the side of his face, half in shadow, half in harsh white. They won't see it, but they'll feel it. The room went quiet. Not the kind of quiet that comes from agreement. The kind that comes from not knowing what to say. The cable guy near the back stopped coiling his XLR. The assistant director's pen hovered over her clipboard. Even the hum of the ventilation system seemed louder in the gap. Jermaine broke it. He pushed off his knee, straightened, rolled his shoulders. "All right, so what do you want me to do? Spin faster?" "Not faster," Michael said. He walked over to Jermaine, stood beside him, mirrored the starting position. "You're finishing the spin and then settling into the pose. Like this." He demonstrated. Smooth rotation, then a visible half-second where the body eased into stillness. "You've got to finish and snap at the same time. The spin and the stop, same moment." He did it again, this time cutting the motion off sharp. No trail, no drift. Like you're hitting a wall, not sliding into a parking spot. Jermaine blinked, then he laughed, short and surprised. "Hitting a wall. Okay, got it." Michael stepped back. "Try it." Jermaine reset, arms up, weight centered. The music cued from the booth, just the bridge section, isolated, looping. He spun. This time he tightened the core earlier, pulled the right shoulder back a half-inch sooner, let the rotational momentum cut off clean instead of trailing into the final pose. His heel hit the floor and his arm locked at the exact same instant. The difference was almost invisible to the naked eye. But when the music hit the turnaround, the effect was immediate. The move snapped. It had weight. It had impact. It looked like it could crack glass. Vincent replayed the tape one more time, side by side with the first take. He didn't say anything for a moment. Just watched. The first version looked fine. The second version looked undeniable. He set the notepad down on the tech table, slowly, like he was placing something fragile. Then he looked at Michael. "How did you catch that in real time?" Michael shrugged. "I just knew it was off. But you didn't see it on the monitor. You saw it live from across the room while you were dancing." "Yeah. And you knew exactly which millisecond was wrong." Michael didn't answer. He just walked back to his mark on the floor, rolled his shoulders once, and waited for the music to start again. His brothers exchanged glances. Jackie's skepticism had shifted into something closer to respect. Tito gave a small nod. Marlon grinned and muttered, "Show off." The assistant director scribbled something on her clipboard. Vincent folded his notepad shut and muttered half to himself, 11 years. I've been doing this for 11 years. They ran the full sequence 3 more times. Each time the snap was there. Each time the move landed harder, cleaner, more electric. By the 5th run, even Jackie, who'd been skeptical from the start, nodded and said, "Okay, yeah, that's better." His voice had the tone of someone conceding a point they hadn't wanted to give up. When they broke for lunch, Vincent pulled Michael aside near the water cooler in the hallway. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Someone's radio played faintly from a dressing room 2 doors down, a Marvin Gaye track, muffled through drywall. "You've got something, kid. I don't know what to call it, but you've got it." Michael took a paper cup from the dispenser, filled it halfway from the cooler's spout, drank it in 2 swallows. The water was cold enough to sting his throat. "I just don't like when things feel wrong." Most people can't tell the difference between pretty good and perfect, Vincent said. He leaned against the wall, arms crossed, studying Michael like he was trying to decode something written in a language he didn't speak. You can, and you won't let it slide. Michael crumpled the cup and tossed it in the trash bin near the door. It rattled as it hit the bottom. If I let it slide, then what's the point? Vincent didn't have an answer for that. He just watched as Michael walked back towards the studio, shoulders loose, steps light, like the whole morning had been nothing more than a warm-up. Like stopping an entire production over a fraction of a second was the most natural thing in the world. Inside, the brothers were sprawled across folding chairs, eating sandwiches someone's assistant had brought in from a deli 3 blocks away. Jackie was mid-sentence, telling a story about a promoter in Detroit who'd tried to book them for 2 shows on the same night in 2 different cities. Jermaine laughed, still chewing. Marlon flicked a piece of lettuce at Tito, who swatted it away without looking up from his sandwich. Michael sat down on the edge of the stage, legs dangling over the side. He didn't eat right away. Just sat there, looking at the monitor across the room. The screen was paused on a freeze frame from the last take. All 5 brothers locked in formation, arms extended, faces sharp with focus. Perfect sync. Perfect speed. But Michael's eyes were already scanning for the next thing. The next invisible detail. The next piece that didn't quite fit. The network special aired 3 weeks later. The bridge turnaround, the one Michael had flagged, the one Jermaine had sharpened, became one of the most replayed moments of the broadcast. Critics called it crisp, electric, impossibly tight. Variety ran a still photo of the move in their recap. No one mentioned the milliseconds. No one knew they'd ever been wrong, but Michael knew. And in a studio in Burbank on a Thursday morning in 1971, a 12-year-old boy had stopped an entire production because he could see what no one else could. The difference between perfect sync and perfect speed. The difference between a move that worked and a move that mattered. The difference between letting something slide and making sure it never had to. The tape kept rolling. But the lesson didn't stop. Years later, in interviews and retrospectives, when people asked Vincent about working with the Jackson 5, he always came back to that rehearsal. "I've worked with legends," he'd say. "But that kid? He didn't just perform, he built the performance, piece by piece, millisecond by millisecond. And he wouldn't stop until every piece was exactly where it needed to be." And when they asked what made Michael different, Vincent would pause, think back to that moment by the water cooler, and say the same thing every time. He knew the difference between good enough and perfect, and good enough was never going to be enough.